Audio made possible by www.jackettome.com. Audio Fanfiction Productions presents Wide Awake. Fanfiction written by Angskata003. Fanfiction inspired by The Twilight Saga written by Stephanie Meyer. Chapter 29. German Chocolate Inferiors. Bella's point of view. My nose was sore when I woke up on Edward's chest to the alarm clock. It was dull throbbing pain that made me wish for the searing white pain of the previous day. Edward removed a hand from my waist and used it to angrily slap the alarm clock at his side. He didn't groan, but I sure as hell did. He shifted under me and moved down until he was level with my face. When I finally opened my eyes, he was lying in front of me, hooded green eyes inspecting the morning after damage of James's elbow. He hissed. I groaned. Is it that bad? I rasped. My voice wasn't as bad as yesterday, but still plenty grating, and making me wish that I had something, either really hot or really cold to drink. He ran a hand through his disheveled bronze morning hair and grimaced. I groaned again, and lifted the covers over my obviously awful face, turning over on my back, and wallowing. I heard him sigh, and try to pull the covers down, but I held them there. As if my day wasn't going to be awkward enough, I had to stand next to gorgeous Edward Cullen looking like whatever it is I look like. He sighed again when I didn't let the covers go.
Don't be so fucking difficult. You're beautiful,
he muttered in his thick morning voice. I inched the covers down just enough to see him lying facing me, propped up on an elbow. Really? I whispered, sounding like a stupid self-conscious teenage girl. Probably because I was. He rolled his eyes behind his heavy lids.
Yes.
He flopped onto his back and began running his fingers through his hair again.
You're always fucking beautiful. Now get your ass out of bed.
He turned to me and smiled crookedly. I smiled by instinct, but the little Edward in my head was yelling bullshit. With a grunt, I rolled out of bed and made my way to the bathroom. It was just awful. I glowered at the mirror. The swelling had mostly subsided, but a large patch of dark blue spread up the bridge of my nose and towards my eye. People were going to see me like this all day. Bella Swan, weird crazy girl with a black and blue nose. I turned away, deciding that denial was a river in Bella Land too. I stared at his shower longingly, impatient to get home so I could take one. Really hot. My muscles were still sore and aching, and I was wondering if the school had a policy against students being under the influence of pretty blue pain pills. Edward was waiting by the door for me again when I dropped his cookies off. I shuffled over to him where he was standing against the wall, looking far more tired than I was. He smiled sleepily at me and snaked his arms around my waist, pulling me to him and leaning in to give me a small kiss on my lips. I was going to pout and pull him closer and just crush his face to mine. But I decided to save gestures like those for the pretty blue pain pills. So instead I sent him a smile and climbed down the house. The hot shower was just heavenly, didn't even do it justice. It was Edwardly. And as I stood under the steaming stream of water that relaxed and soothed every inch of my tired, sore body, I decided that Edwardly should definitely be an adjective. The morning at home was far more hectic than I liked. While making breakfast, I discovered that Esme had to come to the school with me to meet with the faculty regarding my incident. She kept telling me I could stay home, but I decided since it was a Friday, I wanted to get it over with. Have the weekend to recover. Because I just knew it was going to be awkward and horribly mortifying. Even Edward couldn't stop the stares and whispers. Better to let them get it all out of their systems now, and maybe, if I was very lucky by the time Monday came, I'd return to being the invisible girl that everyone carefully avoided. Alice looked disappointed by Esme's presence when she joined us for breakfast. I was guessing that she was just trying to get me alone so that she could get all the gritty details on me and Edward. She looked at my nose and hissed as she slipped into the stool opposite me. I rolled my eyes, stifling a groan. No, she chirped while buttering her toast.
I have some Kilo foundation that will cover that bruise up,"
she said in a sing-song voice. I furrowed my brows as I sipped my orange juice, because I couldn't grimace without pain. I didn't do the makeup thing. Ever. But there was good chance that if I showed up non-bruised, the gawking wouldn't be as bad. I spent the whole of breakfast mulling it over beside Esme before I finally agreed with a nod that made Elise's face light up. And as she was gingerly applying the makeup to my nose while I sat at her vanity, I sharply informed her that it was a one-time occurrence. She smiled widely and snickered with a nod, making a comment on how lucky I was the swelling was gone. And by the time she was done, I was ready to track down the inventor of the magic cream and give them a bag of cookies too. I turned my face in the mirror with an impressed expression. If you knew exactly what you were looking for, you could probably tell. But to the casual observer I was just Bella Swan, weird crazy girl. The usual. Esme smiled at me widely as I drew my hood up to walk out the door with an appreciative glance at Elise's handiwork. Alice took the Porsche while I rode with Esme. And I pretty much spent the whole car ride slumping farther and farther into my seat, as if it could swallow me and save me from the awful day ahead. She parked closest to the administration building, saving me the immediate humiliation of the student parking zone. The looks I received as we entered the small office weren't much better than the ones I got in the halls. The adults didn't see me as some novelty or joke. They looked scared. I wasn't sure what they were scared of, nor could I decide which reaction I preferred. Either way, I kept my hood up and my head down as they led us into the principal's office. I lifted my head just enough to find the furthest chair in the corner to slump into. Esme took the seat closer to the principal's desk, where I assumed he was sitting, and making wary glances at me as I kept my head down. I was thankful for the principal's excess use of state money once my teachers began filtering, and his office was so big that everyone remained a mostly comfortable distance away. I listened in morbid interest as they discussed my issues, as if I weren't even present. Esme began throwing words out there that I loathed. Technical medical terms for my condition that I couldn't even mentally hear without misspelling. I listened in horror as they began encouraging educational alternatives such as homeschooling, which was absolutely preposterous. Like it was something we had never discussed and ruled out. Esme told them so, and she also made a very witty and sharp reference to that excess use of state money that came out of her paychecks. The principal stuttered and stammered, not expecting a dainty woman such as Esme to put him in his place. Instead of pushing the matter any further, the principal hastily instructed all of my teachers to make careful changes to my seating arrangements and agreed that the faculty would accommodate me to the best of their abilities. I was both thankful and impossibly more mortified by their efforts. It was only bound to bring me more attention if I was found to be treated differently. And as if hearing all of that wasn't horrifying enough, they began discussing emergency situations. In the case of any future incidents, Esme started in a tight voice, making me cringe into my hoodie at the thought of any such thing. "You have my immediate permission to allow Edward Cullen to attend to her in any way possible." My head snapped up, finally allowing me to absorb the scene in front of me as I gaped at Esme in her seat across from the balding principal. It was an unexpected comment, to say the least. She shot a sideways glance to me, where I sat in the far corner of the room. She looked uncertain, so I gave her a small smile, reassuring her that it was a good idea. The expressions on my teachers' faces were fairly priceless. I got the feeling they rarely wanted to allow Edward Cullen to do anything. The room was eventually filled with a general nod of agreement to her request. And by the time the meeting was concluded, Esme looked rather smug as we exited the administration office. She gave me a kiss on the cheek before she got back into her car, shooting me one last pointed glance. She was giving me an out, telling me with her eyes that this could be the end of my school day, if I really wanted it to be. But I just smiled back at her. I was never much for procrastination, even when it was a mortifyingly uncomfortable situation. The bell rang indicating the ending of first period as I